Tonight the Baron invited me and my men down to the wine cellar to celebrate our work. I had my suspicions as we descended the stairs, but he insisted and joined us in the toast. The wine tasted fine, and my men drank without restraint. So begins the punishment for our sins. The Baron has locked us up and returned upstairs. Forgive me for what I have done. I was weak and fell into his diabolic ways. My men are screaming. Their skin has been pierced by their own tangled bones. I feel my insides revolt against their God-given nature. Blood has begun to pour from my eyes, and I can no longer. Those were the last words of Wilhelm von Gerich, describing the punishment instilled upon him by Alexander of Brandenburg in Amnesia, The Dark Descent. It was at this point, many believe, he and his men transformed into the horribly disfigured servants, which patrol the dimly lit hallways of Brandenburg Castle, as Daniel explores it in the game. Now, if you've ever taken the time to look closer at these, which, given how scary they are, I understand if you haven't, you would know they come in two main varieties. Now, I've already covered the more common and less dangerous of the two, the servant grunt, on the channel, so today we're taking on the other one, horribly disfigured, surprisingly fast, and incredibly dangerous. Today, I'll tell you about Servant Brute. I'll tell you everything we know about their behavior, origins, and appearance so you know what to do when you inevitably run into one in the game. So without any further ado, refill your lantern, stock up on tinderboxes, and let's go. To start us off, as already mentioned, brutes are much less common than their grunty counterparts, only really appearing in a handful of endgame locations, though they are technically visible as early as the prison, and heard as early as the archives. They certainly make up for this lack of presence, however, with how dangerous they are when they finally do show up. Combining their insane attack damage that is capable of one-shotting the player even at full health, with their speed which actually slightly exceeds that of the player, makes them a truly terrifying foe to encounter. Not only that, but they also break down doors faster and will search for you more thoroughly than regular grunts, making hiding from them harder as well. Fortunately for you, their intelligence at least seems somewhat limited. They do appear to experience some emotions like sadness or distress, as evident from their crying and whimpering, and they probably have enough brains to follow whatever orders Alexander is assigning them, but that's about it. And yes, serving Alexander appears to be their only real goal, and one could even think of these as more elite guards perhaps, since they hang out closer to the inner sanctum, and you have to be extra careful when you're walking around that area. Luckily, if you run into one, it definitely won't be hard to distinguish from the jaw-dropping grunt. In color, they lean more towards brown and green, and they're also noticeably thinner. Despite this, however, they're able to dish out more damage because of their left forearm, which has been replaced with a massive metal blade. The rest of their bodies are also covered by metal plates, seemingly for protection, which makes a distinct scraping sound whenever these things move. Finally, as with most of the other monsters in the game, the head looks very distinct, being split open in the middle with rows of teeth lining the opening, and whereas they might look blind at first glance, there is an actual eye to be seen there, which explains how they can spot you in the game. If that happens, well, you better run and hide, since a single aggressive running attack from a brute will inflict 100 points of damage, killing you instantly. To avoid being turned into sliced ham, you should always be on the lookout for their signature moan, which indicates one has spawned, as well as the metallic scraping their armor creates when walking. So we've covered what they look like and how they behave, but how did these things come to be? Well, that's quite complicated. I mean, look at the wiki. Most would say that, just as with the grunts, brutes originate from the poisoned wine drank by Wilhelm's men I mentioned at the start. The description from Daniel's notebook certainly seems to match this as well, stating,
limbs scattered, heads split down the middle, their skin flayed as if boiled.
Which certainly appears to match the description. On that note, there is also a speculation that only one brute actually exists in the game, acting as a commander for grunts, which would then presumably be Wilhelm himself. Though you might be able to disprove this in the choir by getting more than one to follow you. Either way, that is pretty much all the information we have on the brute. They are certainly horrifying creatures, but believe it or not, at one point they were actually meant to be even more grotesque, at least judging by the secret concept art. So next time you're creeping through the dark corridors of Castle Brandenburg and happen to hear its ominous groan, well, it probably would be wise to run away and hide, or else you'll probably meet your demise at the end of an uncomfortably rusty blade. But that brings us to the end of the video, so I hope you guys enjoyed and learned something new from the fascinating and terrifying world of Amnesia, The Dark Descent. If you liked this video, maybe consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. All of those would be very much appreciated. And if there is something I missed, or there's a different creature like this that you would like me to cover, make sure to leave that down there as well. I would very much like to read it. Now with that, I'm gonna wish you all a beautiful rest of the day, and I'll see you in whatever next video I make. Bye bye.